Okay, I want to talk a bit about this sticker that I developed to help us measure bass, give us some insight, turn our measurements into actual data. This is a condensed version of a relative weight chart that they gave us at school. These are the standard weights of largemouth bass. I'm not going to go into a big explanation about how these were designed. Let's just say it was science. They averaged all the weights of the bass like in the 50s from all over the country, from Maine to Florida to California, and they came up with these standard weights. It's very much like a BMI index that you see at your doctor's office, where it tells you somebody so high should be so heavy. That being said, how to read this thing. We close the mouth of the fish and butt it to the end of the board. This cooler, I have it a couple different ways here. I made it to go on these inexpensive metal rulers like this, because you can get these about anywhere. For this really long one was like $20, but they make them smaller down to about $10. Anyway, there are standard weights for all bass of all lengths. We are not concerned about bass under 10 inches because those fish are forage and probably won't live to see the following season. So we start tracking them once they get big enough to statistically survive, I guess is the best way to put it. So how you read it is a 10-inch bass should be a half pound. Another way to look at this is a 12.5, which would be, this is the 12-inch line, so half would land here. A 12.5-inch bass, if we split the difference on this, should be 1 pound. On the two standard weights, just split them. These red numbers are here for a reason. This is where most of your bass populations get stunted. This is usually where your slot limit needs to be when harvesting bass. Harvesting bass is important in fisheries, and this is how you determine how to harvest bass and when to harvest bass. And what I mean is, as you start writing these down, you catch a 14-inch bass and you weigh it and it weighs 1.1. And then you catch a 16-inch bass and it weighs 2.1. See how you gain a frame of reference there? And you'll start to see that, or all your 13 and 14-inch bass are under these weights, but your 16, 17, 18 and up will be over these weights. So that's your indication that your smaller bass are becoming crowded and you need to harvest some of those. That's how I use this in pond management. How I use it in checking, like, all right, so I'm in North Florida right now. I just moved down here. I'm gonna be going to lakes. I'm gonna be looking for trophy bass lakes. So the trophy bass lake that's right behind my house right here is Robin Reservoir, and I've caught and measured 2 fish out of it so far. One of them was a 14-inch fish that weighed 2.1 pounds. The other one was a 21-inch fish that weighed 6.3 pounds. So as you can see, even though the lakes get bigger, the standard weights still help us see the lakes where the fish are growing properly, because that's a very standard thing with trophy bass lakes. They will produce fish over these weights at all sizes. So that's one of the clues that we use to know, where to fish with confidence.